Nicholas.
By the Body Shop. And today is also the launch of the Book of Visions, this giant encyclopedia here, published by Virgin Books. And I'm Nicholas Albery. I'm the chairman of the Institute of Social Inventions and the editor of this tome. And here is Sir Peter Parker, who will be presenting the awards. And his I don't particularly like to be described as the former chairman of British Rail and chairman of LSE and a number of companies. This is Nicholas Saunders, who's one of the directors of the Institute of Social Inventions and started a lot of the businesses in Neal's Yard, one of which, the desktop publishing studio, helps keep the Institute going, so we're very grateful for that. And on the end here is Hilda Rapp, who's another of the directors of the Institute of Social Inventions and a psychotherapist by profession. The format for today is that I give a speech, which lasts a fair time. Probably the longest speech of the day. And then Sir Peter Parker says a few words. And then each of the prize winners will describe their scheme, each of the prize collectors. And if there are any questions, if there's any time, that will be at the end. And there's also tea for the media and award collectors afterwards in Neal's Yard. I perhaps should explain to the award winners how they happen to have been chosen, how they happen to be here. It's how it works is like this, that we scour the media around the world. We've got correspondents in most places who send us clippings and news of developments. And some people write to us as well, and as part of this awards competition. And we draw up a short list with about 60 or 70 possible ones. And then there are 10 columns with different criteria, which we give marks out of 100 in each column, all the directors and one of the consultants. And so the criteria are things like, is the scheme new, or at least new to this country? Is the scheme imaginative, or at least imaginative enough to appeal to a journalist? Is the scheme feasible? For instance, have they taken into account the vested interest that would be against it? Is the scheme going to help a large number of people? Is it going to have long-term effects? Is it community-based? Will act as a model for other schemes? There's a lot of criteria anyway, so it's a very complicated thing, all goes into the computer. And we were surprised when the 20 top came out this year to find that 11 of them were in the North American continent, which means that several of them this time are represented by people in this country who won't be here in person, unfortunately. But I particularly welcome the main winner this year, which is the Global Suggestion Box, because that's what the Institute is anyway, a global suggestion box. And I've always thought there should be one in the States like ours, and this one is in California. But it's better than ours in many ways because it's accessible by telephone and modem 24 hours a day, so people can enter the database like an international bank of ideas and debate the ideas and vote on them and add to them. And I think that almost every social innovation, anything in civilization that's worthwhile is originally a social innovation. Take writing, for example, or the institution of marriage, or the schools, or laws, or even my profession, psychotherapy. All these things were social inventions at one time. And in 100 years' time, this international bank of ideas, this global suggestion box, will be accepted as a formal and vital part of society. But for the time being, it's a social innovation. And I think it's a very important one. In a sane society, I think the award winners today would be headline news in all the papers tomorrow. Because, I mean, it's good news for the planet, these kind of initiatives. And in fact, of course, that won't quite be like that. If I was in charge, and I could do it without censorship, I would have a Chinese system where 70% of the news in the newspapers has to be good news. And I can't really complain so much this year. I've done 6 interviews on radio in the last 2 days about these awards and about the Book of Visions. Mainly the Book of Visions because it was arranged by Virgin Publishers. And just to explain the book Visions a bit, how it came about is that it's all thanks to Anita Roddick's daughter. Anita Roddick runs the Body Shop chain. Anita Roddick's daughter gave her a compendium of Institute ideas, the previous thing we did, for Christmas. And she rang me up at my mum's house over Christmas out of the blue. I'd never spoken to her in my life before, saying Anita Roddick said she was thrilled by this book and what could she do to help. And so she sponsored the collection of these ideas and made it possible. Plus she's also sponsored the competition for the award system for the last 3 years. Although we're looking for a sponsor for the next 3 years because our time's come to an end on that one. So I still feel pretty exhausted by doing this book because I had to typeset 500,000 words. I feel like some dwarf that's been down a deep diamond mine or something. Just brought the gems to the surface. And it's a sort of record of all the award winners, most of the award winners this year are in this book and previous years, and lots of ideas that weren't eligible for awards like Nicholas Albery's ideas. And I feel it's like I fantasize a time capsule with this book in it, and civilization destroyed, and human beings destroyed, and some creatures in the future trying to rebuild civilization. They did a damn good job of just using this book. For all the minute particulars and the overall picture, because it's all here. Everything in life, from birth to death, is here. And the sort of unifying vision behind this book is John Packworth's vision here of a multicellular, power-dispersed world in which people matter, in which neighbourhoods are empowered, and it's a world of small nations, a world where everyone's ideas are encouraged, so we have a society where people's creativity is valued. And I think what I've been doing the last month and a half is learning a verse of a poem every morning and alienating my friends by wanting to recite them. And one of my favourites is a poem called Fanfare for the Makers by Louis MacNeice. So I've written a prose poem, sort of pastiche of this, called Fanfare for the Social Inventors. It's only 30 lines, and it won't make much sense to anyone who hasn't read very carefully the press release, but here it is anyway. A crowded audience. For whom? For what? For the cranks who make the revolutions. For the phosphorescent points of light in these dark ages. For all the acts of kindness that inspire a world where nature is at ease and magic is alive. So, fanfare for the social inventors who mine the hardest rock face of them all, society, breaking the mass into the bits that matter. As a ship sheds life rafts as it sinks. As dolphins save a shipwrecked sailor. As a global suggestion box saves our best ideas. As Ernest Hall sees genius in everyone and makes an empty carpet mill into a place of magic, a utopian bazaar where art and commerce meet. As Banderton builds a town for 12,000 souls, designed as if souls matter. As shoulder rangers bombard an abandoned urban zone with senseless acts of beauty. As 8,000 counsellors descend on surgeries to relieve hard-pressed doctors. As Jim Haynes publishes the biggest and most open-hearted address book in the world, bringing west to east, people to people. As Big Issue transforms street people into a self-respecting sales force, earning their self-esteem. As visiting Dr. Wriggler's art stuff surgery is like going to heaven. As each to adopt a bit of the planet is to save the whole. As to have an idea is then to carry it out. To create is such. Let us have visions and bring on a golden age.
Can we have that again? No, that's Margaret. My name's Peter Parker. I had no identity crisis when you described me as on the British Rail, except I haven't had any crisis about British Rail as a whole. How are you going to end up with an origami railway? But that's not my task today. in the railways, we did have, a wonderful treasured signal that G.K. Chesterton once sent to us, which said, when he was speaking all over the country as he did, he suddenly had that terrible little message to his wife saying, "I'm in Margaret Harbour. Where should I be?" Actually, it's such an occasion. We have no such complication or no identity crisis at all. So if I may be allowed one moment, and I promise I'll go on track. I did have a Wogan program where I was brought on some year ago, 2 years ago, and he meets you at the bottom of the stairs, on a rough floor of the grounds, and with all sort of smiling, indiscriminate charm of an air hostess, and he waved me to a settee, and behind the settee, hidden by a little curtain, was a chap holding up a prop sheet with capital letters, and it said, "Ex-Nationalised Industry Chairman, dash, Sir Monty Finister." You see, I have actually we know why we're here. We have one unifying idea why we're here, and it's a damn defining idea. The old custom, living in interesting times, and we're not lacking in these interesting times for technological advances at all. What we desperately need is the social inventions to keep up with all that. That's the heart of it. And somehow or other, the point of the day will have different lusters to everybody. In a moment we shall get to the luster of all the prizes, but for me it has a double luster. First thing about the day for me is that we've been going, 7 years?
Yes.
7 years, and we're here with some confidence, and some sense of wonder, some sense of winning. It's an astonishing performance in these last 7 years. And the first thing I would do, which I'm not specifically for at all, is to thank Nick and all his team for having got us here. Yeah. The train did come in on time. I used to say to my friends, don't feel too good about it, Here is only 9 inches from being a noose. But that, for me, is the first luster. The second point of luster is that the idea that we stand, that we got committed to in early days, the idea of celebrating new services, new ways for people to relate, is the common denominator we share in this room. This idea has obviously struck a chord at the troubled heart of our industrial society. Not only our industrial society, but internationally it's striking a chord. So we are starters. I feel that very strongly as a businessman that I did in times when the whole pageant of power goes to the center of things. I tell you that. Everything points to the center of things. The financial world with its IT is around the world in a tweet. One financial center. We have technology, breeding systems breed bureaucracies, breed weakness, do terrible things. One can see the multinational powers are absolutely inevitable, however hard they try, absolutely inevitably taking giant strides above the world. You can see at the center of things the arrogance of executive power these days. I won't go into politics because other crazily elected executive power. You can see the pageant of power to the center of things. Now I feel in a strange way it's absolutely crucial that where we can't signal there's a different way, there is a different value to assert in the face of this ambiguous blessing of technology. Then we should assert it. And then we should find scope for the individual, because the power, corporate power, grows toweringly in its great law. It's totally empty, that's Canary Wharf. There is corporate power growing gigantic, toweringly, and individual fields in ratio diminished. How then do we find the scope of the individual spark and feel that what he does, the way he does it, the way of doing all the buttons, makes a difference? How do we find ways of that? And that is the idea that we're here talking about, that the individual can matter, and that we can do something about pointing the other way. I mean, in a strange way, we are revolutionary. We are revolutionary. The way the world grows is the way I was just saying. The centralized power. They are more interesting than Marx, it turns out, after this actually. He says it's more in the technology and more in the system. More interesting than Marx. It's like, well, politics are committed to technology and systems, and weak bureaucracy, and that is the center. Now, you can see the revolution beginning to work. We're all experts on revolutions. We all know they happen quite unpredictably, and when they've happened, they look absolutely inevitable. Very interesting. We know the pretty loud revolutions, and we've heard them in the last few years. But there are imperceptible revolutions that matter just the same. I think of Louis XVI, on Bastille Day, Louis XVI, and an entry in his diary saying nothing of importance has happened today. There are signals that show you what is happening, what is counter to the trending thing, and we're one of them. In a funny way, there are other hopeful signals, even major signals. Major thinking of his charters, but charters are just like signposts, they point the way they're going. We point the way, and we try to go somewhere. And that's the point of the Institute of Social Inventions, and we're finding other people want to do the same. Sweden, Russia, Germany, a real sense of quiet revolution. That's how I see our work. In some ways unpredictable, but it is the revolution of the individual against bigness, against big systems happening in a deadly way. In that state, I think our challenge for social invention, and your challenge, Nick, in the Institute, is that important thing, to think of innovation. Good. Innovation is, of course, this project or that project, which you should in a moment celebrate and hear about. But it's also a state of mind. It's a state of mind, isn't it? It's not just a project we can afford. It's just a whole attitude. It takes you, you mentioned, I think, minute particulars in the way you spoke. And the way of going red towards the end there, you had one or two Blakean phrases. Blake, who's our man, Blake. And I said, my business is to create. Our business is to create. That's what we are trying our best to do. We have got now a splendid book of these creations, vision. Remember Blake said to his wife, what do we do when the vision fails? She's sweet lady said, we kneel down and pray, Mr. Blake. So here we have this book of visions. It's not a good bedside book, I imagine. It'll keep you up all night with its physics idea. I think many of the award winners today, I think are in this book. I'm happy that we can pay tribute to them. In fact, I'm happy that I can, as one patron among others, as one member of this particular audience, salute the Institute. We should salute the winners. We salute our supporters, not here, national and international. We salute the future of innovations. Thank you very much.
Of the real business. Present the main Social Invention Award for 1992, which is the special £1,500 award sponsored by the Body Shop. And this goes to Gregory Wright of Sherman Oaks, California, for his scheme for an electronic global suggestion box that can be accessed by computer and modem. He hopes to have a prototype version up and running within 18 months. Actually, the physical side of the state of running. Here to collect the prize and speak on his behalf is Peter Russell, who is himself most appropriately the author of a book called Global Brain.
Thank you. I'm sure Greg want to thank Nick and Anita and the Institute and the Body Shop for valuing the suggestion. It's also nice. Greg asked me to come here and represent him just because I'm a friend of Greg's. Then we realised afterwards that I actually had a connection with this project. About 4 or 5 years ago, I was in a friend's kitchen with Greg in Los Angeles, and we were just talking about all these extra ideas we had. What do we do with them? Books we never have time to write, projects we never have the money to actually get them going. And what we do is we hold on to them. We don't actually tell people. Why don't we just put them out into the world? And I always feel that ideas are the currency of culture. And what we do with most of our ideas is we hold on to them. We keep them for ourselves, either for egocentric reasons, we want them, or we think there's money to be made out of them. In fact, ideas come to us free, and I believe we should be given out freely in society. We can't make use of them, then other people have. And so I was really pleased to see that Greg had taken this on and turned it into this idea of a global suggestions box. I would like to call it a global suggestions bank. So if ideas are the currency of culture and the wealth of a culture, I think can be measured partly by the flow of ideas through the culture, and this is also a bank of ideas. And Greg's idea is that people send in through, as Nick's already said, through modem, or through telephone, or through the post. And Greg's also got other ideas, what he calls AIMs, like ATMs, automated teller machines, but automated idea machines, somehow people would send ideas in to this computer bank, what he calls IdeaNet. And this would be computer database of all the ideas, which people could then access and see what ideas were in there, what ideas they wanted to use. And ideas would be arranged in different categories, different subcategories. You could access it in many different ways. Being on a computer, you've got that flexibility to access it in different ways. And it would be individuals feeding in ideas, but also what Greg calls IGOs, idea-generating organisations, like the Institute of Social Inventions and many, many others. Greg's got his own data bank, literally, on all the different organisations. If I listed them, that would take my whole 4 minutes just to list them on this. So they would feed in ideas, and then people, when they accessed it, could actually rank the ideas. You're going to go in and look at a particular category and give points to ideas. And those ideas would rise up to the top. So you have a running top 20 in any individual category. So you can see what the most popular ideas were. So you wouldn't have to wade through thousands of ideas to find an interesting one. The ones that nobody liked, just sort of sit down. So that's the basic idea. And the real value of this, I think, is just this thing of networking ideas, sharing them throughout society. And it will be funded partly by sponsors, maybe governments, maybe grant-giving bodies or businesses, but also by people who access it, people who wanted to access it and get ideas out. And the idea is those who actually took part in the banking will get reduced fees, or those who fed in ideas will get reduced fees, maybe better fees. And Greg is at the moment in California, he's not here, he's working on a microcosm of the bank, getting it up and running. He's getting his own bulletin board going, which will be a suggestion box on the global suggestion box. So this will be a bulletin board where people can feed in ideas. So he says if anybody here has ideas, they are most welcome, and he'll start publishing an interim newsletter and begin working out the standards, the protocols, how to get it working on a big computer setup. That's what he's working on at the moment. And I know that this prize that he's got will go towards him holding up and running.